The NCAA is about to have a bad day on Thursday, and maybe they earned it, and perhaps they won it. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Stephen Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's now the #1 American sports podcast network out there. That's all because of fans like you taking in content like this, and we appreciate that every single day. On today's show, we are going to talk about Patton Pinkins and why he has become the reason Ole Miss fans need to kind of stay locked in on this men's hoops team this month. His rise just isn't a hot streak. It's the story of this team and a major reason for optimism as the development hits a crucial point for Pinkins. Next, we're going to revisit a conversation we've had before. The longer this situation drags on, the more convinced I become that the NCAA needs to lose this Trinidad Chambliss case. A loss would allow the NCAA to position itself as a victim in front of Congress, and recent developments only reinforce that idea. But first, we're going to break down new revelations in the Trinidad Chambliss case that suggest the NCAA may be selectively using facts to fit a predetermined narrative without addressing the realities of this situation. It's like a total disregard for the facts of the case. It's a troubling development and one that more people honestly are starting to take notice of. All of this and more on today's Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is, and that is your team every single day. Today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. All right, so it's been an interesting 96 or so hours in the Trinidad Chambliss case. You heard the NCAA after they denied the waiver, and you get all of the sycophants of the NCAA trying to kind of push their narrative along. And that night where Trinidad got denied, it was weird how popular it was in certain corners that need access from the NCAA. It's weird how that happens. But the reality is some stuff came out after that completely just, it blows away every bit of the narrative that they've put on. For those who don't know, this is what the NCAA is saying. They're saying Trinidad Chambliss didn't play in 2022 because of performance reason, not because of injury reasons. And Ferris State had no intention of granting a medical red shirt, and it was just a part of it. It wasn't anything unfair. It's just that Trinidad Chambliss was not good enough to get on the field, and Ferris State was not being cooperative and all of that. That is the narrative that the NCAA pushed. And that is the narrative that went through the denial and the denial of the appeal that forced Ole Miss to take it to a legal aspect of what's going on. So I actually found something a couple of months ago and started talking about, but it finally got picked up on over the last couple of days as people started to kind of take notice of what's going on. And as the trial, the injunction date is coming closer, you saw a post from Tom Mars, who's the lawyer for Trinidad Chambliss, post this. The announcers in the 2024 D2 championship game, that's Ferris State versus Valdosta State, by the way, it's on YouTube. You can look this up. Understood that Trinidad Chambliss hadn't played in 2023 because of an illness that qualified him for a medical red shirt, which apparently was the belief of most people that followed FSU's football program. And we're going to put some receipts out there for everybody to see. This is the transcript for the video where they talk about Trinidad Chambliss's specific timeline. And this was before he ever had an inkling of transferring to Ole Miss and all the money that was on the table. This was a D2 decision. We told you If he was in D2, this would have already been decided and it would have been rubber stamped, and he would have next year on the books. Because he went to D1, that allowed the NCAA to use him. And we will talk about why they're using him a little bit more in the next segment. But just take this. They are using Trinidad Chambliss because of the eyeballs of having a potential Heisman candidate, having one of these type cases, despite how justified this case might be, they're using it for PR so they can get eyeballs. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But this is where they said that. And it was like, hey, the announcers, they could have misspoke. They could have heard it from everywhere. But the reality is they got that from the production meeting that was done like 3 or 4 days before the game. But I digress. It could have been from anywhere. So Tom Mars put something else out there. It's funny that all of this stuff that was publicly available for everybody to see just wasn't taken into account at all. And we'll talk about that in a minute too. Tom Mars says, serious question. Why would Trinidad Chambliss have said in a December 2024 interview that he had a medical red shirt in 2022 unless he had been told by the Ferris State staff, who must have then believed before he transferred that Trinidad's lengthy illness prevented him from playing in 2022 and 2023. There's another one, and that is from the Detroit Free Press. Up there, the title of it is Trinidad Chambliss is a dual threat weapon for Ferris State football. You can look that up as well. And another thing, this got put out as well in an NCAA affidavit of Chambliss versus NCAA. No weight was given to the attending physician for Trinidad Chambliss in this process, even though their own bylaws say that they need to do that. Listen, this whole case is a cluster, and this should have been rubber stamped from the very beginning. But the NCAA is using these eyeballs to get something done in Congress. I hate it for Ole Miss because Ole Miss has been known to just roll over from time to time, especially when the NCAA is involved. Not this time. And that's important to know. And to make no mistake about this, other people are starting to take notice of how thin of a case the NCAA has against Trinidad Chambliss. Mitt Winter from Winter Sports Law. He's all on Twitter all the time. He does sports law out of Kansas City, Missouri. He has no affiliation with Ole Miss, to my knowledge. And he says, I'm not sure what the NCAA is trying to do with the Chambliss case, other than taking the position that it will fight every single eligibility case despite the facts. But the case is just providing more and more evidence about its decision-making process being arbitrary and capricious. We have talked about the NCAA being a selective enforcement unit for years. Whenever they think they can get a win, they try to take that win. Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, they're going to try and take the win that they think they can get, and where they assume that can happen is with the mid-tier schools, not the top market schools, the mid-tiers where the wins can happen. You know, the joke is out there, Jerry Tarkanian made a long time ago, that the NCAA was so mad at Kentucky that they put Cleveland State on 3 more years of probation. And the NCAA has had that reputation for decades at this point. This case is a mess, and the revelations that came out over the 96 hours that just passed lets you know that this should be an absolute slam dunk home run for Trinidad Chambliss in getting his waiver. Now, listen, anytime a judge is involved, it could always go a different way. It could. So that needs to be understood. But that's not what the facts are saying right now. That's not the direction this is pointing us right now. This is pointing like, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, Trinidad Chambliss's lawyer talking about, you're something like that, because he should be so excited for what this case could mean and how it should go. I'm interested to see what happens in Pittsburgh, Mississippi on Thursday. There'll be people live tweeting it. Obviously, we're going to go live right after the show. Tom Mars, I think the lawyer for Trinidad Chambliss, has agreed to come on our show. I think first, honestly, of all the Ole Miss podcasts, but with people live streaming from the location, that might be pretty difficult. But the plan is an interview with Tom Mars after the injunction date as well. It should be pretty good because the NCAA is using Trinidad Chambliss for PR at the moment, because without congressional help, they're kind of fighting relevance. And it might not be fair, it might not seem fair, but the NCAA seems to have made a calculated decision to where they're going to use this Trinidad Chambliss thing. They're going to deny it. They're going to get it to a trial, and then they're going to be able to go in front of Congress and play victim. And we'll see how that plays out for them, but I'm not sure that that is the way to go. We'll tell you about that next. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. That is why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to the individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care most about, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of curling matches that start slow but somehow get really intense fast, or speed skating races that are decided by just mere inches, hockey games that just feel different from the opening face-off. Even niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked into the competition. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Hey, do us a favor. Subscribe, like, and comment to this video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to it on, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but it helps keep this show free. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in America. You already live your team every single day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Ole Miss with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 per year. Go to lockedonolemist.supercast.com. Check the link down in the show notes to learn more. It's very important. If you sign up for the ad-free, be sure to sign up for the Discord and participate in the Locked On Discord. We encourage that, but I will also give you an invite to my own personal Discord of my favorite Locked On listeners that talk football as much as they can. So that will be a part of the $5 plan as well. Join my personal Discord and talk Ole Miss football outside of whatever else is going on. So it should be pretty fun. All right. I talked about this on Friday, that the NCAA is using Trinidad Chambliss, and that is kind of where the genesis of that idea started to form. And where I landed is, yes, the NCAA needs to lose the case on Thursday. They're going to do whatever they can, and they're going to put whatever standard argument they can in front of the judge so they can lose. Because losing this injunction, you saw the number of eyeballs out there. All of the sycophants that need access to the NCAA were pushing the narratives. You'll see mock drafts come out from people that might not have mock drafts, that are pushing somebody else's agenda because they are scared to death of facing Trinidad Chambliss on a football field because they will get beat. That's just the way it is. You can't just take things as face value. You have to ask why that they exist to begin with. And right now is a definite situation. We showed a lot of evidence in that first segment of why that the NCAA has been acting in bad faith and why their argument is just bunk. And even people outside that do sports law is like, I don't understand this. All of that's happening. So the question becomes, why are the NCAA doing this? Why is that the case? And I think they want to lose the Trinidad Chambliss. Whatever happens, like the Charles Bediako thing for Alabama, where we might still be waiting for an injunction on that. By the time you listen to this, something could have already fell. Joey Aguilar, who is injunction dates on the 13th, the day after Ole Miss. The NCAA wants to lose those three places. They do. And it sounds counterproductive, but they want Charles Bediako to be eligible. They want Trinidad Chambliss to be eligible. They want Joey Aguilar to be eligible so they can go to Congress and say, we need help. Oh, woe is us. This is not any way we can do it. Anything we listen to, people just go above and beyond us. They have been, I'm not going to say illicitly, okay? I'm not going to use that word, but they've been shadily putting out the SAVE Act for 5 months. Their lobbying group is behind it. They're trying to get their legislation put through. Remember, there's TV commercials like Save Women's Sports and all of that. That's all of the SAVE Act that they have been trying to get through. And they are hoping the eyeballs associated with these three cases can get them the SAVE Act. Because the reality is, without the SAVE Act, the NCAA dies within 10 years. Like Kirk Herbstreit pointed out, the Congresses just take over governance of their conference. They figure out an Articles of Confederation way to kind of disjoin different things from the NCAA, but still be attached in a different way. That is what the future looks like without the NCAA. And make no mistake, if nothing happens in 10 years, and right now nothing looks like it's going to happen in 10 years, the NCAA is going to be basically an event planning organization with a March Madness tournament. They're not going to have any role outside of that, eligibility or otherwise. And I've said on this show many times that eligibility is a myth. Eligibility, whenever you have 9th-year seniors at Miami and 8th-year seniors at Miami, and TJ Finley is playing for his 7th school, eligibility is a myth. It's not real. It's a method used to selectively enforce a narrative. That is all the NCAA uses it for, and even that, they don't use it uniformly. Listen, I grew up in the time that 4 years to play 5 was the standard thing. And 6th-year seniors, what Trinidad is applying for, being a 6-year senior, was increasingly rare. Don't give me that it's rare when there's a 9th-year senior at Miami. Don't give me that it's rare when TJ Finley is on his 7th different school. Don't try and play that game. Don't try and put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't do that. You can't pee on our leg and tell us it's raining. This is selective enforcement, a problem that you have made yourself, and now you need Congress to save you, because without it, you will die. And you are willing to use student athletes, as you like to say, to fit your own narrative to accomplish that goal. And now the new talking point that might get a little bit of traction, it might, is that these evil actors like Trinidad Chambliss are trying to make it to where high school players can't go to college and play football because spots are taken up. Spots are doing that, to the point where I think Ole Miss had to lobby that through Austin Thomas, Ole Miss's GM, that they weren't recruiting any 26 quarterbacks anymore. There's no spot being taken up. Everything's in position to be normal. But the NCAA is going to point it out like, hey, we're going to make it to where all 45-year-olds are playing college football and no 18-year-olds even have a shot. That's the way they're going to make it sound, because they're an evil organization. Let's just be real about it. They're an evil organization. It's one of those things to where the NCAA is an example of big government gone horribly wrong, to where essentially they are what JP Morgan or Nelson Rockefeller or anybody like that was in like 1880. Maybe it's time for the NCAA to die and that to go away. It's one of those things, like if this happens, the NCAA cannot properly do its job. And it's like, well, they could be argued for the last 50 years you haven't been properly doing your job. So maybe it's time that you go away. We'll see. There's a lawsuit in Pittsburgh, Mississippi. Trinidad Chambliss is likely, that the thought is he's going to get the injunction. And when that happens, he's going to be allowed to play football this season. And if I was the lawyers, if he got to play a full season and for some reason after that, just dismiss the lawsuit. Then there's no reciprocal action that can be even turned on you. In my thought. That's the way I look at it. I'm not a legal eagle or anything like that, but I kind of figured that out a little bit. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Anyway, we will have information on the Trinidad Chambliss case all through the injunction and beyond, potentially. And then we'll get ready for spring football, which is like a month away after that. So it should be pretty good. We have women's basketball that's doing really well. Patton Pinkins is absolutely killing it. We'll talk about that in just a second. And baseball is getting ready to start. This is what I'm planning for baseball this year, okay? I want to do post-game reaction shows on every single baseball game. Now, it's going to be hard to do 60 games or something like that, but I'm going to try. We're going to have an SEC squad show that is going to air on Tuesdays about college baseball. In a word, we're going all in, and we'll see how it goes because I'm curious to see what this baseball team could look like. You know, whenever you have potentially the best pitcher in all of college baseball and 5 guys that can hit 20-plus home runs in a season, it's going to be interesting, but there's other stuff that has to be put together as well. So we'll see exactly how that goes. Anyway, in our final segment, Patton Pinkins is the reason Ole Miss fans should stay locked in to men's hoops. We'll tell you exactly why next. Hey, the new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love the way it looks as well and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It is a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. Now, my wife loves Wayfair. Just recently, we got 2 ginormous bookcases to set up for decoration, a couple of decorative statues as well, and a rug for the kitchen. Now, all of this going on. Wayfair is like the Amazon coming in my house, and basically my fight with my wife on that, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, but we'll see. But it's definitely cool looking. It could also be coming from a lot worse places. So definitely tune into Wayfair and see exactly what they have. From bedding to mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home stretch right in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or organizing your work from home setup, Wayfair has a huge selection and makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and budget. I love that I could find pieces that matched my style without spending a fortune. Shopping is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrives exactly as expected. It honestly made getting back into a routine this year feel a lot more manageable. Get organized, refresh, and back on track this season for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's wayfair.com/Wayfair. Wayfair, every style, every home. Hiring isn't just about finding somebody willing to take a job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Job, that's kind of the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and locations. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get that specific and get the target for exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending way less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who actually are a fit. Here's a stat that says it all, by the way. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed because, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listen to the show. Listeners to this show will get $75 in sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Do it the right way with Indeed. All right, so Ole Miss lost against Texas over the weekend. It was a weird game. Ole Miss was down by 18 at one point. They came all the way back and took the lead, and then they ended the game with Texas going on a 14-0 run to where Texas ended up winning the game by double figures. It was the story of the season, but the one takeaway that I have before I get out of here, this is going to be a pretty short segment, by the way, is Ole Miss fans probably still need to be locked into basketball, not necessarily for W's or L's. That ship has sailed, I think, at this point. But Patton Pinkins is legitimately a star in the making. And he is somebody that the course of the next month worth of development will be absolutely huge for his game. These other players, like AJ Storr, has been really good for Ole Miss this year. But Patton Pinkins has been the must-watch guy. He actually hit the game winner against Mississippi State and Georgia. Patton Pinkins is everything that you're looking for in a basketball player, and he has a chance to develop and take steps, get better and better and better. So we'll see exactly what it looks like, and we'll see exactly what the strategy is of player procurement for Chris Beard moving forward, because that will be pretty important to see what happens. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're going to continue to talk Trinidad Chambliss all week. Make sure you subscribe and follow so you get all the latest episodes. We're on all the social channels as well, so check those out. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you, but get Locked On Ole Miss ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonolemisssupercast.com to join the club. And for those of you on video, we're going to send you on over to the first ever National Locked On Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you check out a second listen and Locked On SEC or Locked On College Football. Both are fantastic shows. Hey, this week is Trinidad Chambliss week. We're going to be talking about it all week long right here on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Hotty toddy, everybody.